1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Royal Blue Podcast Soundcheck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Monday Show Live. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Royal Blue Podcast Soundcheck. Hello and welcome to the Monday Show here on the Royal Blue Podcast. I'm your host Ian Croll. Alongside me we have Chris Beesley and Paul Wheelock. We are live on YouTube and we are here to talk all things Everton. First up, Chris, how are things? All good? Nice trip back from Newcastle, I'm guessing?
Yeah, I mean, it always helps, doesn't it? Now it's 2 trips in a row we've had up there, Joe and myself. We're obviously celebrating away victory after the 1-0 on the final day of last season. I mean, that one was a lot less fraught than the ding-dong affair we had this time, but still the same satisfaction at the end. But there's a bad taste in the mouth, and it's not obviously the football result, it's the water we've got here in the office.
I knew you were going to bring this
up. Ian and I, well, to be fair, Ian's all over it, to be fair, and he's saving lives. It discovers that a few of us have thought that it does taste a bit strange, this water, so we are looking into that, and hopefully you can enjoy us here while you can on the Royal Blue Podcast, and hopefully we'll still be here a little while longer with our new supply of water. Needs to get to the bottom of that one.
Yeah, well, a few people are making fun of me because I've made reference or brought up the fact that our water tap, the water in it tastes completely different, and I'm suggesting that it could be poison, could be anything, could be bleach. So if we get a lot of people sick in the office, then you can always look at me.
I've not had any, so if you two struggle, I'll pick up the reins for the rest of the pod.
Anyone who regularly watches the YouTube channel will see that I usually do have a bottle of water with me. Now I haven't. You've got your usual orange juice.
Yeah, I chucked the other one out when you said it. I went and filled it.
But it's from the tap.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Well, hopefully I'll be all right in that one.
We will get to the bottom of it and we'll report back. We've also got our sports editor Paul Wheelock. Paul, how are things? All good?
Yeah, happy days. Always like a win over Newcastle, not going to lie. Yeah, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Great, made up for a great weekend, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we can't rest on our laurels, can we? Because we've got a game coming up on Tuesday, but obviously 3-2 win for Everton. We will talk glowingly. I'm sure just worth mentioning, Chris, as well, that you and Joe did record an audio-only podcast on your road trip back from the game. So anyone who hasn't already can go and listen to that.
Yeah, a bit different, obviously, than obviously we're taking it on today with the live video one. But yeah, we always try and do it when we can, and we're wary, actually, obviously, with the way the fixtures have panned out. It's 5 straight trips to London now to finish the season, so probably won't get another opportunity to do that one on the train. So yeah, give that one a listen if you're walking the dog, listening tonight, whatever. Still very relevant, hopefully, ahead of Burnley. Yeah, just reflecting on obviously what we saw that day. So it's all part of the package here that we provide.
Definitely, yeah. So go back and listen to that if you haven't already. We're going to go in depth today. Straight off the bat, we've got a comment from James Graham saying, "Strange tasting water. Are there any copites about?" So is a conspiracy
I think
there.
The water's for everyone, isn't it? We're not segregated in that respect.
Not yet, anyway.
Yeah.
Derby's coming up in a few weeks.
Certainly is, and I've mentioned as well. Might as well mention it. I'm hoping that Wednesday, the 4th of March, so this week, we're meant to find out whether the Liverpool game changes dates or not. Right, that was the provisional date set, so they don't always stick to the exact date. So hopefully we'll find out whether it stays the Saturday. It's obviously not going to stay 3 p.m. Saturday. 12:30 Saturday, or we're looking at a midweek game or a Sunday game. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, just don't want any more shenanigans. Obviously, what we've had with the Arsenal one and all the to and fro-ing, because both Joe and myself and all those obviously thousands of Evertonians going down there to tear up our travel plans.
Well, I do know that there's a Champions League round of fixtures before the Derby game if Liverpool get through to the next round, but then the following week after the Derby there's no fixtures, so it could quite easily go into that week.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with that. Today's agenda, Everton secured another massive 3 points away from home on Saturday afternoon. So we're here to react to that 3-2 win against Newcastle. Going to discuss specific things like Beto's performance and what that means moving forward for him. We'll also talk glowingly, I'm sure, about that save from Jordan Pickford and look ahead to the Burnley clash as well. And can Everton finally get a win at Hill Dickinson Stadium? Before we do get into that, a quick word for our sponsor. We thank NordVPN, our sponsor, for sponsoring the show. And with NordVPN's app, you can get online protection for your private data, like your bank details, passwords, and online identity. You can also get protection for your data whilst traveling and using public Wi-Fi. NordVPN protects you wherever you are in the world. And all this can be used across 10 devices with one NordVPN account. So for more information and to get the best discounts off your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/EFC. Our link will also give you 4 extra months on a 2-year plan, and there's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. And the link is in the podcast episode description box. Chris, first question straight off the bat, how big a win was that for Everton's season against Newcastle?
Yeah, it was. It's a strange one because you can never get complacent about this. But yeah, again, what's that? 12 away wins since David Moyes came back. It's incredible, really. I saw EFC Stato had put online today. The last 13 Everton games, the home team hasn't won. So maybe that's something to look forward to. I'll try and correct, as it were, ahead of Burnley. But yeah, you always felt, you knew it was going to be tough. It always is, going there and with the crowd and the intensity. But on the same... So by the same token, Newcastle have been struggling as well, so I always thought it was something you could get something out of, but you just don't know what Everton are going to turn up. And to be fair, I thought they were really on it on Saturday. I know Newcastle pressed hard, and as we'll go into it, it was only that wonder save from Jordan Pickford which denied him a third equaliser. But I thought going forward, there was real intensity in Everton's play on Saturday. So yeah, it could potentially a huge result in that if so similar with Fulham away and then they didn't do it against Bournemouth, if they can now follow it up against Burnley. But if we take it in an isolation, it was terrific, and I really liked the way Everton played and went about the game for me. Like I said, it would have been desperately cruel if they'd have been pegged back a third time, because I think they were really good value for their 3 points, even with the Pickford save.
Paul, I mean, there's been heavy debate over the past, mainly like probably 2-3 weeks with regards to Everton's home form compared to Everton's away form, the approach of how Everton set up away from home compared to at home, and the results are telling. Let's face it, the results away have been fantastic, whereas the results at home haven't. I mean, Everton are really looking like genuine away specialists at this moment in time, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. You look at the away form table, and I think are we third in it? I think behind Man City.
Arsenal had them all.
I think it was Man City and Arsenal after Man City beat Leeds. It's remarkable. 7 away wins in a season, particularly. You look at the teams we've beaten as well. To Bournemouth, which was always a bogey ground. Manchester United and Old Trafford, which is long been a bogey ground. Newcastle, although we have won there last year, it's not always been the most happy of hunting grounds. And even though Newcastle aren't playing too well in the league, I think going into that game, they'd won 4 out of the previous 5. They got through to the Champions League last round of 16, which was a big confidence boost. And at Man City last week, when they went out of the FA Cup, wasn't it? Or, no, it was in the league, so they're playing in the FA Cup, aren't they? They lost 2-1. They give City a really good go. So they were coming into that game on a high. And I was overseeing our coverage back at home, obviously running the blog, tweeting out and socialing the blog that Chris and Joe were running. But I also had BBC Radio Newcastle on in the background. And honestly, it sounded completely fully deserved from their perspective as well, kind of thing. I think we went there and controlled the game early doors, got the goal that we deserved. And yeah, it sounded like, and from reading what Chris and Joe have written, yeah, Everton came under a lot of pressure in the second half, which is to be expected. Newcastle are a really good team. There's no doubt about that. But they stood really firm, and 2 deflections were the only way that they got through. And the one time where they did have a clear shot, Pickford came to the rescue, as no doubt was discussed. It was there's a bigger debate about the home form at the moment. But let's take this on, let's enjoy these days. And we need one of those at home. There's no doubt about it. We need a win at home. The fan base needs a win at home. But this is remarkable what they're doing away from home this season. And to go to Newcastle and and deservedly win there. All credit to David Moyes and the players. Brilliant.
I mean, it's a roller coaster of a season, whatever way you want to look at it. Even though we are kind of mid-table, obviously still in with a shout for Europe, certainly more so now after that win, Chris. I mean, you know, you bring a couple of stats in there. I mean, obviously Newcastle kind of dominated possession, if you want to say that. It was 66 to Everton 34, which I think we all expected. We know that possession stat over the course of the Premier League, like from a genetic point of view, it's a trend that's developing out. Like teams who have less of the ball, seemingly, unless you can really got those players who can dominate the ball, and having maybe a little bit more success. So the way Moyes sets up away from home, you know, obviously Everton are a lot more comfortable out of possession, but even with that lack of pace, I guess that we've got, we're still good in the transition. We can still be quite direct, and we've seen that with some of the certainly with the third goal, on Saturday afternoon. You know, Newcastle scored twice, and we responded so quickly. I think we just caught Newcastle a little bit unawares, certainly for that third goal.
Yeah, and I mean that was probably one of the most pleasing aspects of the win, wasn't it? That triumph against adversity, and it'd be so easy to sort of go into your shell and peg back twice, feel sorry for yourself, but no, they went straight down the other end on both occasions, more or less, and got themselves back in front. So yeah, that was part of that. Like I said, I really like the way they just went about the game. You'd like to see that both home and away more. It's even more so. Paul was listing before all the incredible away wins. What we didn't mention was actually what was arguably the best result of the season, going to Villa, and they'd won 11 on the trot at home, going there and winning that one. Yeah. So yeah, it was a really sort of. It was positive from the mentality point of view, as well as just the way that they played it, and as you say, been a roller coaster. But what I did do is yesterday, it's online now. If people want to take a look, and the talking point, I went as far as perhaps arguing. He just changed one thing about this Everton season. I would argue that nobody would be complaining at all if you flipped around the home and away form. I think there'd be no dissenting voices at all. I mean, you know, that's not the case, but I just think if those home results have been achieved away and the away results at home, I think everyone would be happy. But it's just one of those. It's a quirk of things, and they can win at Hill Dickinson Stadium. So hopefully they can get back to that, because I think regardless of the result on Saturday, whichever way it had gone against Newcastle, Burnley was always one that Everton got to look at getting back to winning ways on home soil.
As mentioned, we are live on YouTube, and I've seen plenty of comments coming in, and I'm making a note as many as I can, so we'll try and read out as many as possible. We might as well just look at some individual performances, Paul. I think we're probably best starting off with that Jordan Pickford save. Obviously, you know, Everton fans saying it's, you know, one of the best saves we've ever seen. When I saw that, I was just in complete shock. I've seen a couple of rival fans suggest that it was maybe just straight at him.
Straight at him, yeah.
But for me, what makes it so good is how Tonali, how well he hits it. Oh, like it's not like the shot. He's done everything right. There's nothing else that he could do. And Pickford has got the quality, the strength. You know, anyone else that probably just bend his wrist back and it goes into the back of the net. Where is that in terms of one of the best saves you've ever seen? Certainly one of the best saves Jordan Pickford's ever seen, and we've seen a few.
I think it's breathtaking. I think it's. I think obviously the Chelsea one, Aspirations, that will, given the context of where we were in the season, probably maybe a more important save. He's made there's been times where Pickford's made mistakes this season, but he's also made a catalogue of brilliant saves. I think that's right up there. I think it's difficult, again, it's context. You know, we grew up with Imre Varadi header, didn't we, from Southall, the famous save, and Mark Falcao, wasn't it, as well, topped them in the 80s. Yeah. But I think that's right up there with any save you will see, because of what you said there. Tonali will not hit that any better, the venom that he put behind the ball. And he would have seen it late as well, because there was bodies in the box. And to me, obviously, the rivalries come into it. But if you want to listen to someone who could hit a ball, and unfortunately hit a ball very like that at that very same end, Alan Shearer called it world class. And I think we all remember that game growing up when I think we were 10 men. We played brilliantly that day and lost 2-1.
Broke a couple of hearts that day.
Broke a couple of hearts. That was every good as bit of volley from Tonali. It's just remarkable. He is just an unbelievable shot stopper, isn't he? He really is. Like, as good as you'll see. Like, I can't see there being a better save this season. And he's made a number of brilliant saves as an Everton keeper, and I think that's as good as any, if not better.
Yeah, I mean, Chris, obviously Paul's mentioned the Chelsea save there a few years ago. We've already had the United save from this season, which was at Old Trafford. I mean, the Chelsea one's a little bit different, isn't it? Because it's his reactions more than anything to get to where he got to in that short space of time. You know, it's a goal. I don't care what anyone says, it's a goal, and he keeps it out. With this one, this is just one of the best reaction shot stops I've probably ever seen. You know, that it's not to say that's a ridiculous statement. I genuinely do. I couldn't believe that he kept that out.
Yeah, I agree. In terms of the Chelsea, for me, the Chelsea one's the best because he has to get his whole body across the goal from one side of the goal to the other, and then made a save. And I think as Joe and I were discussing it in the car, it's almost like he has to get himself behind the line as well, almost like and do a save. So all that for that one for me was the number one. But yeah, it's a different type of save. But this was as all the reasons we just said: the strong wrist, getting it onto the crossbar, the context of him being the Sunderland lad, and that's curious how that dynamic has changed. And we mentioned that obviously after the game, didn't we? And that there's no inflatable dinosaurs this time around because it doesn't work anymore. You know, that maybe used to get to him back in the day. There's ridiculous, baseless body shaming from Newcastle fans. And, I was there, unfortunately, the day when Everton went from 2-0 down to lose a game 3-2 at Newcastle. And that was kind of like the low point for Pickford and that Newcastle-Sunderland rivalry that he had going on. But now he's got a swagger about him. He's always been comfortable in his own skin. I think a lot of us probably get more sort of wound up or sort of offended on his behalf with sort of this stick that he gets. But there was a moment actually, because obviously it was in front of the Gallagher end as well. I just remember before this save actually, when he just came out to start the second half, and I was going to do this. I couldn't do this when we were doing the audio podcast, and I was driving at the time. But I'll show the viewers this one. But John just sort of went up to the Gallagher. He did a bit of like that, with his shoulders, and he got a bit of a reaction from a big fella behind the goal as well. A certain gesture, a hand gesture was made his way, but. He sort of revels in that pantomime villain role now with the Newcastle fans. It's interesting, actually. Friend of the podcast, long-time regular contributor, Gav Buckland, who's Everton's official statistician. I think he said on Saturday that that Falco save that you mentioned, Big Nev, Tottenham, and the title running in '85. He said the Newcastle fans' reaction, the way they were sort of flabbergasted, they couldn't believe it was gone in, was similar to those Tottenham fans that night, and I think from the players as well. I think there were players on the pitch from both sides, Newcastle and Everton, almost reacting and in disbelief to it. How incredible it was. Joe gave me a bit of stick because he said only giving Pickford an 8 on the player ratings because of that. But I did say they should build a statue of him outside St James's Park. So I mean, that's maybe that makes up for me not going a bit higher there with the ratings. But yeah, it was incredible. He said, "Oh well," I said he got beat twice. To be fair, he conceded 2 goals, but as we say, they were deflections. I'm sure we'll all be looking back on that one for a long time and. In admiration of just how good it was. And it was also that fact, just finally, is that juxtaposition against Nick Pope as well. He's getting a load of stick from the Newcastle fans. The way he spilled Dwight McNeil's shot ahead of Beto scoring the second goal. I think that that sort of ship has long sailed, but this ridiculous debate that we had for a long time, and the pretenders to Pickford's throne as England number one, it really does show the sort of the gulf between him and the chasing pack in that respect.
Yeah, there's no debate about it anymore. There hasn't been a debate about it for a long time, and anyone who's doing it within the media, they're just doing it to create something, aren't they, that doesn't exist. John Jones Toffee Man says, no doubt in my time it's the best save I've seen. So fair enough.
Okay.
But Danny Ellis says Big Nev would have caught it.
Well, that's the one, because I've seen typical Nev fashion, and we were talking about the statue issue last week with Nev, and I think that's part of the thing, because Nev's such a humble man, he'd probably never push for that himself, but when he recalls that Tottenham save, he kind of just says, "Oh, straight at me," and then he says that Kevin Ratcliffe was giving him stick for why'd you concede the corner. So yeah, I'm not sure it never would have caught it, but yeah, two incredible saves and a lot of similarities between them.
Definitely. Jenny Ratcliffe says the Chelsea one was the most important, as we just gone 5 points adrift, but Saturday was sensational. Yeah. So that's fair enough, isn't it? Paul, let's talk briefly about Dwight McNeil. First off, how surprised were you that he was back in the starting lineup? And I'm glad you're on today's pod, because I remember when we did our wish list. It was a podcast that you couldn't come on, but you were scheduled to come on, and you gave your wish list of what you wanted to happen for the end of the season, and one of them was actually kind of, I think you said, redemption for Dwight McNeil. Does that Saturday's inclusion and obviously the win, I know you could probably give him maybe an assist for the goal. Has he got redemption for you based on that, or has he still got to do a little bit more?
Well, I felt for him personally, because I do believe footballers can be treated like pieces of meat, and Palace did treat him like a piece of meat with, on that deadline day. From a personal point of view, I felt for him. Equally, I understand what David Moyes said at his press conference. Rightly or wrongly, it is part of a footballer's lot, isn't it? Like, you can be there 1 minute, you can be not the next. So I'm happy for him to have got back in the team. I like Dwight McNeil. I don't think he's been anywhere near the Dwight McNeil this season that he has been in the past, but I want him to do well, because I think he's been an important for Everton player in his time at the club. He scored some really, really big goals for us, particularly. My lads love YouTube and watching highlights, and we were watching Brighton 1, Everton 5 the other night in bed, Harry, my 8-year-old, and like watching the 2 goals, and I was just thinking, McNeil back then, the goal against Forest at home, like scored some massive goals for Everton, and I didn't want this season, the way it was going, for people to just think, he's no good in, because that's just not the case. But he hasn't been good this season. I think you'd have to admit that. I think the last time he played before Saturday was Leeds. He got dragged off at half time. And I think you could tell the crowd were beginning to get on his back a little bit. I think he missed a 50-50 in that game. That happens. That's football. It's life. You have your ups and your downs. But I like Dwight McNeil. So when I said that to you when I was going to come on that show, I was just hoping there might be a little turnaround, because Moyes said it, didn't he, after the move collapsed, that he's still in his plans. I think it was a shock that he played on Saturday, I'm not going to lie to you. But without seeing the game the full 90 minutes, he obviously had a role to play in the second goal. And I think he had a role to play in the first goal as well, didn't he? I know he sounded on the radio, there were a couple of times where Lewis Hall was getting the better of him. He could have been a bit stronger, but you gave him 7 out of 10, didn't you? So he'd obviously done his job. So yeah, I'm pleased for him. I was surprised he was put in the team, but David Moyes is the manager. That's what he gets paid to do. And there were questions about his team selection after Man United. Can't really say the same after Saturday, can we? Because it worked.
Yeah, I mean, Chris, obviously Moyes has gone with McNeil, certainly away from home at times, and he's made an impact. He's certainly been effective. I think Moyes was asked, why did he pick McNeil after the game in his press conference, and he just said, well, we pay his wages, kind of. Why wouldn't we? Were you surprised that he went with him? But it's tough, isn't it? Because although his home performances maybe haven't been up to scratch, Moyes picked him on the right hand side again, which, what do I know? I keep saying don't play him on the right, but away from home he seems to just have that impact. Yeah,
I was surprised. Yeah, because obviously he's not kicked a ball since the move collapsed. He was back on the bench, wasn't he, against United? But he'd not played at all. And I was even more surprised that he was on the right wing. Although I'm not entirely flabbergasted, because yet again the team's been leaked. That's another issue to talk about.
A couple of times.
We all knew the team again. So, and I'm not just talking about the insiders, like Joe's got his professional sources behind the scenes getting the team. I'm talking about the whole general public knowing the team. So I'm not sure about if that needs tightening up. But yeah, I was surprised, and I was surprised even more so, like I say, that he was on the right wing. But he did a job, and there's something that Michael Ball talks about in his column. I spoke to Michael this morning. Obviously, we've got that coming up later today, and he says obviously it's tough for fans. It was obviously the major talking point when there's the fan base beforehand. That surprise call, Moyes keeping us on our toes with McNeil backing the side, but ultimately all of us, even obviously us and the professional media, never mind just fans, we're all laymen at the end of the day, and we only get snippets of this. We only see bits and pieces, where David Moyes and his coaching staff see Dwight McNeil and all the other players for many hours every day of the week, and they can factor in all that full gamut of what's going on in terms of his attitude and his mentality and his fitness levels, all of that. And what it kind of similar to what I was saying when I was speaking the other week about all these round pegs in square holes. Oh, sorry, that should be square,
Square
pegs in round holes. See, I'm flipping it round now.
Same thing, though, isn't it?
Yeah. Either way, all of that is going on because, not necessarily because David Moyes is just being bloody minded and going, I know, I'll play as many players as possible out of position. Of course, he doesn't want to do that. I think it's more about what the players who aren't getting picked aren't doing, because it was an interesting, just as a slight aside, when Moyes got asked what had Beto shown him, and when he was asked in the post-match press conference, what Beto shown him to get back in the side, he sort of did a bit of a tough love for both of the strikers, saying, well, maybe it's more about what Tino Barry hasn't done.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's the case, whether it's new boy Tyreek George, who looked good when he came on against Fulham, and then struggled in the next game when he got the start against Bournemouth, was it? And then see Tyler Diblin, who's the most expensive signing in the last summer and has sort of struggled to make an impact all season. You've got to wonder, what are they doing or not doing for the fact that that the manager keeps doing this? And as much as it was a big talking point, and we're all sort of scratching our heads at Dwight McNeil, the most left-footed player in the business. You talk about that 5-1 at Brighton. We had a laugh. I had a laugh with Dwight McNeil once. I said to him, "Were you ever tempted to do that tap in on your right foot?" He looked at me like I said, "Did you want to get down on your hands and knees and head it in?" So he's the most left-footed player in the business.
Playing on the right.
Playing on the right. So, but yeah, the manager and player, I guess we'll see. I don't know if it's full redemption, but Paul's saying there, but certainly vindicated on Saturday with their decision because of what transpired.
Just stick with you. Sorry, with Beto.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, for me, I thought it was a really, really good performance. But in a way, in many ways, we'd set up to play to Beto's strengths. Yeah. And let's face it was going to be a difficult afternoon playing against the likes of those big centre backs.
Yeah.
That Newcastle have got, obviously Dan Burn being one of them. Luckily, the missed chance didn't cost them.
Yeah.
But obviously, I think that may have been brought back anyway because the ball clearly did go out. I don't know what VAR would have done with that. But either way, we've got a Dwight McNeil shot, from the right to the middle hand side of the pitch, which the keeper parries, and Beto's the first to react to score. Is that too much to say that was maybe one of his best Everton performance?
Well, it was, but what we got was we got the full Beto experience, didn't we? Because
that's what we love. Yeah. That's why I love him.
Because he was on it. He was another talking about Everton being on it. He was strong. He was powerful. He gave a focal point to the attack that Tino Barry, unfortunately, hasn't really done in recent times. We're talking about all these runs he's been making and going down the channels or whatever, and not actually doing a lot for all his efforts, not actually getting a lot of joy out of it. Beto, like you say, it was almost bullying them. What he did do is more, because for that move, obviously he should have scored. And to be fair, look out for that. I've got that's online now. My interview that I did with Paddy Boyland in the mix zone afterwards. With Beto. Beto's great value for an interview. Remember speaking to me at the Merseyside derby at Anfield earlier this season, and there were a lot of poignant moments because, of course, he was one of the players, along with Yusuf Chamiti, the two Portuguese-born players who had gone to Anfield for after Diogo Jota had died in the summer. So there was a lot of poignant stuff, but there was more light-hearted stuff as well from Beto that day. He's a great talker. He's very honest, very candid. Remember, there's a few lines in that piece he's going about how Moyes was always on his case, but, he didn't mind that. He was trying to improve him. And he said that miss, he said whether the ball went out or not. So even he's referencing that. But, my bad, he said, he should have scored. And that's what we saw. We saw there's two sides of Beto. He also said that goal that he did score, best goal ever, best finish ever, in terms of similar to his Brighton one. He reacts to it. He loves. I don't think he meant it was. He says. I think when he says that, he means the best feeling ever in terms of. You love those to react to those. So it was the full Beto experience. But what he did do, although he's no sort of small man, he seemed to target Malik Thiaw, who to be fair did well at Hill Dickinson Stadium, didn't he? He's a big unit himself, but Beto got the better of him, and he tended to sort of shy away from the even bigger Dan Burn. There was one moment in the second half, it was on the far side of the pitch, when Dan Burn was going toe to toe with Jake O'Brien, and whoa, talk about heavyweight clashes. I mean, those are two big men. As I said to Joe, I think, actually, I wouldn't want to be the meat in that sandwich. But, Beto tended to stay on the other side. But, as I say, it was the full Beto experience, and thankfully, it was a positive one. And it's quite a dilemma now. Obviously, David Moyes, both his strikers got a goal. So I'd expect Beto to get the nod again. But, it is a dilemma with them both scoring.
Yeah, but Paul, interesting that, maybe Chris has given away his team selection there, which we can do a little bit later on. I wasn't sure whether Moyes was just kind of picking him because we've got a game on Tuesday, so he was giving Barry a breather. But based on that performance, maybe there has been something in training where he's thought, right, well, you need to be in the team. I think what's clear is he definitely offers something a little bit different from Barry, even if it's just from a physicality point of view. It's just with Beto, he just doesn't. He's not able to control it as much. Certainly when he's trying to hold the ball up, he might be able to win you the header. Last season, he had a really good purple patch. Yeah. I think it's 4 goals now. We're kind of heading into that period, same period as last season. Yeah. Can he go on another run here, another purple patch, get a couple of goals?
Well, it's down to Beto, this, isn't it? And I think he said it in your interview. He said it in with the BBC after the game. He admitted that it's not been a good season for him because. And that's on him. He's a really good character, clearly. From what Moyes says, he trains very hard behind on the Finch Farm every day, so there's no problems about his application. But his form's not been good enough this season because Cherno Barry still is very much a work in progress. And this season, he should have been Everton's number 2 striker for me. Beto, at the back end of last season, scored all those goals. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who I think is a superior player to both of them, had left the club. This was Beto's season. He got the number 9 shirt. Yeah. He's not been able to do it this year. But there's still time. There's still time. Like last year, when Calvert-Lewin got injured at Brighton, he picked up the mantle, didn't he? And scored the goals that got us very much over the line. As you rightly say, Ian, this is a chance for him. We're right in the mix for Europe now. He's just probably produced his best performances of the season. He should start on Saturday. He should start on Tuesday, despite Barry obviously brilliantly getting the winner. It's a big chance for him because I don't think Moyes has got a lot of stick this season, and I think unjustly at times about not playing young players because I think he's trying to pick the best team for Everton. And I think what Chris says then, I think there's more to it than him just going, I'm not going to play young players. I think maybe some of those young players have not proven enough in training, or he doesn't think they're quite ready, which is fair enough. That's the manager's want. But he's give Barry a run, David Moyes, no question about it. And I think in recent weeks, he's dropped off. And I think Moyes was right to give Beto another go. Beto's got to prove him again though on Tuesday. He can't just be a flash in the pan now. He's got to go and deliver the goods on Tuesday against Burnley, and if he does that, he can keep his position for Arsenal. I think the players. There's two things here. It's not always about the manager. The players have got to step up as well. And Beto's not been good enough this season from the standards he set at the back end of last season. But there's still time. There's still time for him.
It's interesting. Slightly disagree, although do agree without trying to sit on the fence too much. It's hard for me because I do genuinely love Beto, so I'm a little bit biased. So I obviously just want him to do well. Yeah. I think, he has been poor at times, and he's missed a couple of big chances. I mean, obviously, the Newcastle one there where he scored one and then kind of missed a one-on-one. If that had cost Everton, everyone would be like, well, you missed that chance as well. So I completely get that. He's got to have that little bit more of composure. But I do think that we just don't play to his strengths. I think he's being asked to do things that he's just unable to do. Now, I know you can work on that on the training pitch, and you should be able to improve. Like that's what comes with being a footballer. I think, like I mentioned this the other day, there's a couple of players on the pitch for Everton that they're being asked to do things that they're just not quite able to do. So from my point of view, if that is the case, I think, well, the manager should say, well, let's play to your strength. Let's approach it and set up the team to play to a Beto's strengths. And we haven't done that. I think we did that on Saturday against Newcastle because quite clearly we had the space to run in behind. The midfield had the space because we had played with a slightly lower block. So I think that's kind of where I'm at with it all. Yeah, I agree. Performances definitely haven't been there from time to time, but give your players the utmost chance to succeed, and I don't think the manager's done that. Certainly at home, anyway.
I for a long time I thought I'm saying I've been not harsh on Beto there, but he's the more senior of the two. Yeah. And he finished last season in a great run of form, and he started the season as Everton's number 9, and I don't think he grasped that opportunity. But I like Beto too. But I've been for a long time, I think it's a thankless task being an Everton centre forward. Yeah. And we've had this for a long, long time, and that's why I think we're seeing the benefit of what Calvert-Lewin did when he was fit, because he could really lead that line. Because it's not an easy task, and I still don't think we've worked out how to play both centre forwards yet. But I think this has been going back years. Yeah. And you hear it in the match sometimes, fans kind of going, God, even if we had Haaland, he would have struggled today.
Oh.
And no, but I do, and it's a joke, but I do understand that, because I still don't think it's all clicked up there. But that's fine. It's a work in progress. This is the first of probably a couple of transition seasons of big summer windows. So he needs to grasp the nettle. He needs to grasp it now, Beto, because I still think in the summer there's a big decision to make over the centre forward position, to be honest. But hey, listen, there's still loads of games to play.
Chris, before we just move on towards Burnley, I guess that might worth mentioning Jarrad Branthwaite. Obviously got Everton off the mark. Aside from his goal, what did you make of his performance? And let's face it, it's a big thing, because the previous game he played left back, but he was back in his natural position, centre back.
Yeah, I thought that's probably the best since Jarrad came back, to be honest. He was decent on his return against Leeds, but I think one of those, it's almost like you're getting through on adrenaline and something like that. But because I thought, I don't know, other people, including David Moyes, who said he was equally comfortable at left back as he was at centre back. I thought he struggled against United. I thought they gave him a bit of the runaround, really. Bruno Fernandes and Ahmad. But I thought he was really good at Newcastle. Not just the goal, obviously, that was a huge bonus for him. Nice to see Everton mixing it up a bit on the corner kicks and just getting a goal from a set piece. Albeit not one that Bernd Leno throws into his own net either. But obviously near post header from Branthwaite across the goal, and I think Torquay ducked, didn't he? And so that was nice. But yeah, his overall play at the back, even though they conceded the 2 goals and we say they were both deflections, I thought Jarrad Branthwaite was really strong, and you could sort of see him that, as we spoke to our colleague Conor O'Neill after the United game, and he was talking still about the hopes of getting in the England squad for the World Cup, and you think that's got to be an outside chance, given that he missed 8 months of football. But if he is going to get on there on the plane to USA, it's going to be basically playing centre back. I don't think he's going to turn into a latter day Ashley Cole anytime soon. So yeah, I was really impressed with Jarrad and how he played, and I think what he also did, like I said again, despite them conceding the 2 goals, because he'd gone in for Vitaly Mykolenko against United. Mykolenko back in at left back in his natural position there. I think he brings the best out of both Mykolenko to his left and James Tarkowski alongside him as well, because obviously Tarkowski's been up and down this season. He hasn't missed a minute of the action, but his form's been up and down. So yeah, hopefully it bodes well. You get that, because it's whatever we think about the right back issue, and Everton, as David Moyes has said, they've been actively chasing a right back for over a year. Having O'Brien, Tarkowski, Branthwaite and Mykolenko is Everton's first choice back forward as it stands. So hopefully if they can get a run of games, they'll be a lot more solid, and Branthwaite being a big part of that, just bringing the best out of the rest of them. And then, we all know what he offers that no other Everton defender have got, that comfortable, the ease on the ball and the able to bring it out, the position out, play it out, from the back. So yeah, hopefully that bodes well, and it's the start of something, because he's been playing catch up, and for all the, like we say, roller coaster season, ups and downs or whatever, drinking where Everton might have been, with Branthwaite been fit for all the season instead of being out for 8 months, it's a huge miss, and I think it can often be overlooked, just what Everton were having to do without Jarrad Branthwaite.
And Kevin Kraft says Jarrad Branthwaite is magic and the lad has real talent, which I think we can all agree on. Mm-hmm. I mean, Paul, we've talked up Europe, I guess, Everton's fight for Europe. I think after the United game, I think a lot of people thought, well, maybe that could be it. But lo and behold, we get a win against Newcastle. What I would say is, looking at the league table now, it's our job to talk up Europe, so it's fine. There's a tiny little bit of daylight between the likes of positions of 14th and 13th, which Crystal Palace and Newcastle occupy those positions. And the reason I bring that up is because Everton have kind of fluctuated, haven't they, between 7th and 14th. A lot of teams have. So that daylight is kind of, I think, Palace or Newcastle now would have to win 2 games, and Everton would have to lose 2 for that to swap over. So maybe the pressure's off with a little bit of that, and now you think Everton could, coming up against Burnley, who had an up and down afternoon to say the least against Brentford, finished in torrid fashion. You'd hope that they would be, that'd see their season finish effectively because of what happened. So maybe Everton now, this is just me looking positively, can start playing with a little bit of freedom now and just see what happens with Europe.
particularly if we can beat Burnley. I think me and Joe were saying in the office earlier, it feels big, doesn't it? Because the longer the home run goes on without a win, the bigger it becomes. What's the problem? Is it the stadium? Is it the manager and Moyes? Bottom line is, in football, wins cure all ills. You know, like, believe you me, we would not be talking about train stations as much. We probably wouldn't be talking about getting out the dock walls, but which are all viable conversations, by the way, because it's the first season of the ground. I'm not like flipping there, because I say I'm not at all. But you just need a home win, but particularly on Tuesday, because then you've got Arsenal away. When it's 13 days later. But it's a big game, but it feels a bit of a free hit, doesn't it? And then Chelsea at home. I wouldn't want to be going into the Chelsea game with the run being 8 games without winning at home, because that's going to be a difficult game enough as it is. I genuinely feel if we can beat Burnley, we're going to be right in the mix for the final 9 games of the season. As Moyes has said in his press conferences, I think even by beating Burnley, we're going to have to take a big couple of scalps at home, aren't we? There's no doubt about it. Liverpool, City, Chelsea, who else have
Sunderland.
we got? Sunderland's a given. Like, it's not a given, because Sunderland have had a great season, but like, that's the one we have to win. And I think we probably have to take 2 wins out of those other big 3 games that are still to come. But you know, it's just win tomorrow. Like, beat Burnley, and I think the club and the team and the fan base is in a great place going into those final 9 games.
With that being said, then, Chris, is it a must-win for you? Not on the basis of Moyes getting sacked.
No, I said this actually in my piece. Yeah, I think regardless of win, lose or draw at Newcastle, Burnley was also always a must-win. In terms of aspirations, like I was saying, we're not talking about a must-win in terms of the manager's position or anything like that. It's a must-win in what we're expecting from the season and what we think Everton should be doing. It's always been the case. I hope that alarm in the background there. There's not a lot of alarm bells ringing for the team, thankfully, after that result on Saturday. But yeah, I'd say it's like I said, must win in terms of what we feel Everton should be doing. And just as Paul has said, they've just got to stop the rot in terms of that result. The winless streak at Hill Dickinson Stadium, because with those tough looking home games to come, you've got to get back to winning ways at some point, and this is seemingly the most obvious opportunity to do so. And again, it's also something that Everton have struggled to do, and pick up back-to-back results or a couple of wins in quick succession. Like we said, we keep harping back to that Fulham game and then the disappointment of Bournemouth, and we saw just how disappointed David Moyes was after that, very monosyllabic in the press conference afterwards, because he knew it was a huge missed opportunity. And it'd be the same again if they weren't able to do the business against Burnley. As Paul said, they had a bit of a tough look at the weekend, but Everton have got to just try and exploit that and get at them. And hopefully Tuesday can be the day it happens, because it's been nearly 3 months, hasn't it, since the Forest game now. They just need to sort that now, because they did it earlier in the season. That's the thing. It's almost like, we can't win at Hill Dickinson Stadium, but they could do. At first they started off pretty well. They got 4 wins by the start of December, but they need to end that now. I mean, spring now, isn't it? Winter's over now, so looking forward. Yeah.
Certainly getting lighter of a morning anyway.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Liam EFC says Everton have another massive chance tomorrow night at home to Burnley. We have to win. Yeah. And AMEFC says, I don't see Moyes being under any pressure. Yes, the home form could be better, but being 8th and on 40 points is a decent spot for us at the moment. I guess the big question now, Paul, moving into the Burnley section, does Moyes change a winning team? We've been here so many times where we've won away from home and we think that was a fantastic performance, but then we come into a home game and maybe the same team would struggle. I think what's clear is you have to play different away from home to what you do at home, and that's where we've kind of struggled. I think Moyes is, I'm not advocating to play the exact same way at home like we do away in terms of a low block and just sit in, but I think from my point of view, there needs to be a little bit more flexibility from the manager.
Yeah,
do you agree?
I think it'd be like the United game was interesting, wasn't it? Because the first half was it was a stalemate, wasn't it? But United are in great form, and I could understand that. I know, my dad next to me was like, would have Bournemouth or Brighton have had a go at United at home, and maybe they would. But I was kind of saying, well, the end results will justify the means, and I thought second half Everton had a go. Again, there wasn't a load of chances, but I thought it was quite telling, as Joe wrote in his verdict, the fact that we stayed behind the south stand, we're in the west stand. People stayed behind and clapped the team off because I think people could realise it wasn't for a lack of effort. There might have been a bit of lack of quality, and certainly the corners, we should have admitted defeat a lot earlier than we'd done. And then even the Bournemouth game before that, you got to take your chances. And then defensively and goalkeepers credit we give to Pickford. He didn't have his best night there with the 2 Bournemouth goals and the Mikalenko losing the ball in the left-hand flank and then breaking away in O'Brien. We shot ourselves in the foot, didn't we, completely? But after that, with 10 men, we gave it a go, and we clapped the team off that night as well. So I think the last 2 home games, there's been parts that have been good, but the results haven't been good. I think the difficulty on Tuesday, talking about the manager's tactics, I think we have to be on the front foot because the United one, you could justify it a little bit. Bournemouth a really good team, but I thought Everton were a stronger team up until the equaliser. Burnley are showing a lot of fight, to be fair to them. It's not just on Saturday, they've shown that recently, and a bit like Wolves, they might be down, but they're going down with a scrap kind of thing. So I don't think it'd be straightforward, but I think you probably have to have a go, and I think that may mean if he's going to change it, does he put Garner to right back? And so we got more offensive threat down the right. Does he bring a Tyreek George in? Because he did well off the bench against United. I think there's so much. I think there was the goodwill at the end of the United game because from the supporters who stayed behind, it didn't seem to be that way online. There was a lot of fume coming out of the ground and reading it. But then the goodwill's back again after what's happened on Saturday. But I think the support will be good like it was against United. But I think there will be an expectancy to attack.
Yeah, I think that's, and we know how Burnley are going to sit in anyway, aren't we? But in many ways, there could be an argument to be made that against the likes of Bournemouth when we conceded and the likes of Manchester United when we conceded, we weren't going gung-ho, but it was at that point when we were on the ascendancy where it was a kind of a sucker punch, wasn't it? Yeah, well, United scored on the counter, Bournemouth scored a goal on the counter.
Yeah, they lost the game by trying to win the game, didn't they? Like you say, it wasn't kamikaze going gung-ho, but because they were trying to have a go and they just got picked off. And the difference being is, I think Joe wrote in his match report, whatever, it was like a £200 million transfer combination at unpicked Everton in a matter of seconds in the United game, whereas that's not going to be the case against Burnley, isn't it? You know, they're all game players, and Scott Parker's got them battling, as Paul says. But yeah, that Everton have got that extra quality there, and they need to make that count. And it'll be interesting to see. It will be a genuinely interesting dilemma to say, does he change that winning team and go for changes in personnel as well as tactics? I
mean, Burnley need to win as well, Paul, as well. They're down there. Yeah. Obviously, like you say, they are putting up a bit of a fight, but they're not getting the points probably. So even a point for them, a point for us on Tuesday, we obviously will be disappointed with, but a point for them is probably still not good enough. So I don't know whether they probably won't change their approach on that basis. They'll try and stay in the game as long as possible and try to nick it. But at the end of the day, they're going to have to leave a little bit of space, and hopefully that will benefit Everton.
Yeah, and Chris rightly said, like, you look at it, like when you go 2 teams going head to head, United have got more quality than Everton, but I didn't think that was the case on the night. Bournemouth, through their incredible recruitment, are probably every bit as good as Everton at the moment. You've got to give credit for how they keep on replacing players. But there's no doubt we've got better players than Burnley. Like, we've just got better players than Burnley, and that's not being disrespectful to Burnley, but our quality has got to show on Tuesday nights. And yeah, I think I'm with you. I think we've just got to go for it. The lads in the squad must be absolutely buzzing after Saturday from winning at Newcastle full stop, but with a Pickford save and scoring 2 goals after they've scored. They've got to be flying. The fan base is flying again. So let's just go and have a go, but hopefully just not shoot ourselves in the foot, because I thought we did that against Bournemouth. I thought, second half, looking back, like, we had the chances, didn't we? They were blocking in heaven. If we would have got the second goal, that game's gone. So you need a bit of luck as well.
Brian Burns says, see what happens when Branthwaite plays centre-half. Tarkowski plays a lot better, as does Mikalenko. It's not rocket science. Yeah. Danny Church says, the win on Saturday will mean nothing if we don't win tomorrow. I mean, ironically, I kind of said it, I think Gav asked me on Friday's pod how many points from the next 2, and I said 3 I'd be content with. but make sure that if we're going to lose one, it's the Newcastle one. So we've beat Newcastle. We can't go now and go and get beat by Burnley. So 6 would be, tremendous for me.
Minimum. It is now. It is.
Well, it is the 6 now. It's changed.
It
It's crazy how it changes, isn't it? Kevin Craft says, I have no problem with Dwight McNeil when he plays and he tries his best. I guess the big question is then, Chris, what would you do? Would you keep the same winning team against Newcastle, or would you maybe change it to try and, alter it maybe more that we're playing at home?
Maybe it would be harsh on Dwight McNeil. I guess it's just what David Moyes sees between now and then, possibly. I wouldn't be changing it much. Like I said, I'd probably be keeping Beto up front. Despite what you're saying, it is a potential for Garner go right back again. I probably would keep the back four again. And I think for me, it's probably the only change he can make is probably as well as he did is McNeil. I imagine that'd be the favourite. If he is going to stick it round, does he go a bit more dynamic with somebody like a Tyreek George? I can't see him putting Tyler Diblin in, whatever you think of that. I just don't see that one happening. So, yeah, I imagine it could be changed, but if it is, I think the changes are going to be minimal.
I mean, the big one for me, Paul, is the right fullback situation, because we, from time and time again, that position seems to be costing us, whether it's from a defensive point of view or from an attacking point of view. I can understand if he goes with McNeil, because he obviously did okay against Newcastle. I definitely understand if he goes with Beto. I genuinely think, just my personal view, that he genuinely picked Beto because he knew that we were playing Tuesday, so he thought, well, Beto could play, but then I might put Barry back in Tuesday. But for me, Beto's played himself into that starting lineup now, so it will be really interesting to see what he does there. I just think, I guess Burnley are going to be big with physicality and set pieces. So do we need that Jake O'Brien presence there, even if it is just from a right back point of view?
Maybe. I thought Garner was excellent at right back against Man United.
He was.
I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I think I can understand, because we've been having this playing players at the wrong position. I think everyone's just got to accept now, whether you like it or not, David Moyes doesn't think Nathan Patterson's good enough to be Everton's right back, in the same way that Sean Dyche and Frank Lampard felt like that. And that's nothing against Patterson, because I think he had a bit of a raw deal after playing well against Villa. But that's what the manager thinks. So if we're going to be on the front foot, I would be tempted to play Garner right back. But I do agree with you. I think that physicality and the pace that O'Brien brings. But going back to what I was saying a minute ago about how we're going to have a go at Burnley and get the crowd on side, really go for them. I'd be tempted to play Garner right back, because I think he's really good there. I think this season's been good wherever he's played.
Yeah, left back.
But I am wary of changing a winning team too much. But there's something telling me I'd play him and get going and get him on the ball from there, because I think he can dictate a game from there as well. I think he's good enough to do it.
Maybe it also depends on the stuff we can't see. I'm not just talking about what they show in training at Finch Farm, but also the physical stats, because obviously it's 2 games in the space of 4 days, isn't it? So I'm sure they've got all their various sports sciences people will be having an input as well. And, who's flagging, or who's easy going to do the 90 minutes again. So that might also play a part.
No injuries reported afterwards or knocks
no,
or anything,
didn't
was
seem
there?
to be, no.
I guess you both said it there. The group of players, the 11 that started against Newcastle, ultimately should be good enough to beat a Burnley side. I'd just be a little bit like, I hope it's not what Moyes hasn't learned from his mistakes. Going from an away performance where we play well and win, then going into a home performance where he could have been a little bit more flexible, maybe he could have tweaked it a little bit. But I've said this repeatedly on the pod, you're probably best not changing a winning team, because then you do open yourself up to criticism.
You can't win.
Exactly, you can't.
Win.
You can't. It's just easy for us because we can analyse and point the finger, can't we? Scoreline prediction then, Chris, to finish off.
Oh yeah, I've got to be positive, and let's hope they can. Let's hope they can do it, and I'll be positive again, and I'll say 2-0 Everton.
Okay.
I'm going to say 3-1 Everton.
Nice. I'm going to go 4. Wow, just to be
2,
different.
3, 4, going up and up.
I'd take 1. I'd take 1-0.
Would take 1-0, but I bet you that would be a nervy end to the game, wouldn't it? Look, I don't think we need to go out there and say, well, it's got to be a 4 or 5-0. I think the main thing is, like you say, just win and see where that leaves us. We're going to have a break after the Burnley game. It's going to be a tough away game at Arsenal. You would probably expect not to get anything from that, but it doesn't get any easier, I guess, with Chelsea the following week. But Chelsea aren't at the moment firing on all cylinders. They've had a good start under their manager, but flagging a little bit. So you never know.
Yeah,
you never know. Okay. Any final thoughts, I guess, before we finish off?
No, just like I said, let's hope we can all pull together and just get that monkey off Everton's back. In terms of, I think that life for everyone would just be so much easier, wouldn't it? If after that one.
Wouldn't, like, the thing is, you've got to win home games.
Yeah,
like, what you've got to, because but like 49,000, it dictates the mood of the club.
Yes.
It does. It's like, no, even people who have maybe criticising the manager in recent weeks, the away form's remarkable, absolutely incredible, but that home form dictates the mood, like, of a club. No, because you everyone's been, and as a supporter, not as a journalist, it's been a bit of a tough time going there lately, because not because being critical of the performances the last two, Man United and Bournemouth, but you're getting a bit fed up. It's just win a home game, and honestly, I think the season's good. No one's disputing that, but it'll look even better.
What a season to be a regular away fan, by the way.
Yeah, well, fair play to them. You know, those people, they deserve what they get, really.
I've done it a couple of seasons in a row where, in Moyes' first stint, like Rooney was there, and a little bit later when P&R, we beat like Spurs 1-0 and stuff like that. I was going every single away game, and that's nothing. We had some good results there, but that's nothing compared to what we've seen this season. The away fans have, I don't want to say lucky, like they haven't, but they have to see the amount of the amount of away wins that they've seen on the roads, and obviously Christian Joe being there for it all. But for an away fan to see the amount of away wins, there's nothing better than winning away, is there?
There you go. Winning at Hill Dickinson Stadium.
Yeah, actually, not better than winning away, but just win at home on Tuesday.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that has been today's Monday Royal Blue podcast. Thanks to Paul and Chris. Give us a like on the YouTube channel and subscribe if you haven't already. Drop us some 5-star reviews on Apple and Spotify. Most importantly, enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your week. We'll have all the usual coverage from the Burnley game, and obviously David Moyes' press conference this afternoon. We didn't even mention that. I forgot about that. You say you can't rest on our laurels, so David Moyes will be in the hot seat in and around an hour or so. This has been the Royal Blue podcast, and we will see you soon.